Good morning to the Honorable Prime Minister, members of the media, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, Telemcell TV Plus, respective radio stations island-wide, online, and TV 15 viewers. I'm Rolika Roach, and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, May 24th, 2023. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, Silveira Jacobs, to address you. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, and a pleasant good morning to you, my wonderful hostess of DCOM, Rolika. Good morning to the members of the press here present, and of course, the support staff of the Department of Communications, and of course, a hearty, warm welcome to the people of St. Martin and all those following this broadcast. As we start this new week with endless possibilities, I want to take the time to convey a message of hope and inspiration as well as optimism to each and every one. In the face of the challenges that we face, the uncertainties, and knowing that we are observing Mental Health Month, where we're paying close attention to our mental health, it is essential for us to nurture a spirit of resilience and unwavering determination. Our Smile Island has been a shining example of unity and strength, and I have no doubt that we will continue to rise above any obstacles that may come our way. So I take this time to encourage each of us that is going through whatever we're going through to take a moment each day to start your day on a positive note, reflecting on the good that we have going on for ourselves as well as our country, the beauty of our country, our shared values, and the strength that lies within each community. With that positive mindset, we can then overcome many of the challenges that we face and help to transform the island into the future that we can all be proud of. So I wish each a pleasant week filled with joy and a deep sense of hope. Together, we can make this island what we dream it to be. Of course, we have to take time to pay our respects. And while we have these feelings, remember to save space in our prayers and thoughts for our brothers and sisters in neighboring Guyana, particularly those the families, friends, and loved ones of the young girls who lost their lives in the Madia dormitory fire. It was with horror that I saw some of the videos that I saw, and I can feel the pain of those persons. The government and people of St. Martin stands firm with you all during this exceedingly sorrowful moment, and may God grant all those affected, including the survivors and their families, much strength and courage, as well as faith to endure this unimaginably challenging time. I know at times you're like, why me and why not that one? God has a reason for everything, and we have to trust Him through even the most difficult periods. So, condolences to all of the persons, government and people of Guyana, as well as in the diaspora, those living as well here on St. Martin who are left to mourn this terrible loss. We also have condolences going out to families who have lost loved ones right here. There's been quite a couple of accidents lately. There's tragic loss of life, sudden loss of life, as well as persons dying after having suffered a long illness. So we would include, of course, civil servant Gemma in our prayers, the family and friends and colleagues, as well as those of longtime a former telem worker, but very strong worker in sport, particularly football, Mr. Elvis Blader, known as L, Coach L, very strong within our school sports especially, and so we know that he is out of his suffering, but will surely be missed. Segueing over to a word of caution, because last night I was also sent several videos and pictures of accidents. And so I want to caution road users to not only think of yourself and the rush you may be in at the time, but others who may be using the roads, especially during the nighttime. We will get there faster, but you won't get there at all if you end up in an accident. So please caution on the roads for all motor users, and a special word of caution for all the scooter riders. As a scooter rider was also injured in an accident last night. We see the program and project rolling out on the front side, encouraging the helmet use. Wearing a helmet is part of the law here on the Dutch side of St. Martin as well. And so I want to take this time to really encourage young people as well as senior bikers who can set that example for the younger ones. Yes, we are all road users, and so please use the road with conscience for other road users. The life you save may be your own, and then what we have not talked about is the many injured scooter riders who are now in wheelchair or have lost the use of part of their bodies as a result of a scooter accident. So loss of life, loss of limb is something that you will treasure as you get older. So take your time and ensure that you and other road users are safe. So wishing all those who endured those accidents last evening a swift recovery as well. In my meetings over the past week, I have had quite a few with the one that was quite important. Two are actually related to security, and one was with the governor of Anguilla and her representatives from security forces, including her deputy governor, was here for a courtesy visit. So even though she will be leaving the post in June and a new one will be arriving, there were very important discussions to be had as St. Martin, Anguilla, French St. Martin share a lot in terms of culture, in terms of family, but movement of peoples. And so we must ensure, especially seeing the rise in violent crime that Anguilla is now experiencing, ensuring that we can close the gap for the influx of illegal arms, as well as persons who may be traveling for said purpose. So there's much collaboration going on between the security forces, and that was indeed a very important meeting. I also met as Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs with Interpol representatives that were here on the island for a meeting with the Minister of Justice and other security agencies on St. Martin, and again were able to ascertain how best we would collaborate to ensure safety and security for the people of our islands. Moving on to that, this afternoon there is our usual monthly meeting with our French counterparts that will take place from about midday today, which will include both the Prefecture as well as the Collectivité of St. Martin. And on Friday, there's of course the signing. Following my May 9th press conference where we announced the finalization of the border negotiations, I'm pleased to announce that we, together with our colleagues on French St. Martin, will be solidifying those decisions in a new treaty, which will be signed by myself on behalf of the Kingdom government, as well as representatives from the French state, the Minister of Interior, Gérald Darmanin, and Overseas Minister Jean-François Carenco will be on the island. The signing will take place this Friday, May 26th. The further invitation, including the location, etc., will be sent hopefully by this afternoon to all media houses so that it will be clear where and when that will take place. So this will be on Friday. This agreement demonstrates our commitment to resolving differences through peaceful means and finding common ground for collective prosperity for our citizens. Together, we embark on a new era of collaboration and shared progress, solidifying our position as a nation that values peace, diplomacy, as well as positive engagement with our brothers and sisters in the North. As I mentioned last week, the applications for the CRIF Insurance Facility internship and scholarship programs are still open, so do visit our website, the website of crif.org/scholarship for more information if you have interest in that, as well as the opportunities with the OCT Youth Network, which is at www.overseas-association.eu. And this is an opportunity to get involved and collaborate with other youth initiatives at regional and national level. So I will ensure to also share this information with the youth department so that they can get it out to their youth councils and other youth organizations. On Monday, we held our first pre-meeting for the EOC. I was delighted to host that meeting together with the Disaster Management Coordinator, Mr. Clive Richardson, with the key ESF, Emergency Support Function coordinators present with some of their teams. Several things were shared. Interestingly enough, from the Met Office, it was shared that this is going to be a dry season. And lo and behold, we had quite some rain last evening. We have been experiencing a dry spell, which is linked to El Nino. They're calling it the El Nino phenomenon going on, and this will last for several months, which is could be positive news for not getting a strong hurricane this year. So we will continue to keep our fingers crossed and our prayers going up that this, even if it becomes an active season, will not be active for us, and that life will be spared and we can continue to build back St. Martin. Continue to follow the weather reports, and we will be having official meetings at the beginning of June with all ESFs as is required at the beginning of our hurricane season. Continue to prepare, as we know these things can crop up overnight, and follow the official weather station of St. Martin via our Met Office, which also is available on our websites. I will leave it there for now, Relaika, and give the opportunity to the media for any further questions and or clarifications. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, May 24th, 2023. Thank you for joining us. We now move on to the question and answer session, and Bibi Hot Shah of SMN News, you have the floor.
Thank you, Relaika. Good morning, colleague. Good morning, Prime Minister. My first question, I'll start with your last point. EOC meeting, the first meeting, pre-meeting held on Monday. How prepared are we, Prime Minister? What about the trenches? So far, trenching contracts have not yet been issued. Pumps, are they up and running? We had some flooding last night. I think earlier or last year, I believe it is, a bid was placed out for the repairs of the roof of this government building. What is the status of the government building, and what can you tell us if should a hurricane hit us this year, would the roof of this building withstand any category 3 to 5 hurricane? What is the status of it, and what's happening with that bid that was placed for the repairs of this roof?
Thank you for your questions, Ms. Shaw. In the EOC meeting, we did have the Ministry of ROMI represented. They did give an update on the status of the repairs, the trench cleaning that is ongoing. The trench bid isn't finalized yet, or the tender, whatever they had, I can't go into the details, hasn't been awarded or finalized as yet. However, they are doing cleaning of the trenches in the meantime. The pond levels were quite low, so there was no need to engage the pumps. But with the heavy rains, they are always at the ready, of course, to reopen the channel to allow the water from the fresh pond to exit, which was done last night. I did get that update from the Ministry of ROMI that they were dealing with that. The trenches were, that the outlet for the water to the ocean was done, and I saw that on my way here, that it is still open. So they are monitoring it. We do know the challenges that we have with pumps. Those that have been ordered have not arrived yet, or the part to repair, the one that is there, has not arrived as yet. But we are managing by being proactive in keeping the pond at lower levels. And because it hasn't rained as much as usual, the pond was actually, I guess, before last night at a pretty low level. So it's able to withstand what took place last evening. And based on the Met Office having the radar, we do have the radar up now. They're able to monitor local movements more, and will be giving or issuing warnings if necessary via the local media. That was on the EOC meetings. And as far as regular preparedness is concerned, all of those who were present yesterday, invited to yesterday's meeting, gave their updates, their levels of preparedness. Some even showed some advanced planning, digital platforms, to be able to make quick moves. Because I must say, hurricanes of 2017 and subsequent threats have given us much experience and in what needs to be done. And so ensuring that communication, having a strong community base, all of the shelters are prepared and ready, and the maintenance is now with government for the generators and water supply. And so the ministries responsible for that have taken up that responsibility and have reported positively in terms of our readiness. As it relates to the roof, the building, we did have discussions with SZV about how the planning for the roof repair would take place. We'd hope to have started already, but that discussion is still ongoing. I cannot at this time tell you what we'll be able to withstand on the fourth floor, but we pray that we'll be able to get our repairs done before any eventuality of that nature. Yep.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Bibi. Stephen Cerulean of PJD2 Radio, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Roach. Prime Minister, good morning. Piggybacking on the question of my colleague, Prime Minister, we know repairs have been made to the Martin Luther King School in Touchwater. How far ahead is the work there, and how well prepared are the various schools in terms of the state of readiness in the event of a hurricane?
Unfortunately, the schools were not represented in the meeting we had yesterday, so they will be in the meeting we have in the beginning of June. So we'll be able to give you an update on that at that time. But I do know from experience that the Education Ministry has a very strong emergency team that meets on a regular basis. They've established strong ties within the community. They have their disaster plans. Each school must have their hurricane and disaster plans in place, which is checked by the inspectorate as well as the student support services. So they are usually on par, but we can get that in writing to you. I will relay that to the ministry to ensure that you get the direct response as it relates to the readiness of the schools for the upcoming season.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. Thank you, Stephen. We now move on to the second round. Bibi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. I'll ask a follow-up, Prime Minister. I think 2 weeks ago, I asked you about the Charles Leopold Bell School and the Sister Marie Laurence School in Middle Region. What about the repairs on that? Up until now, I haven't gotten a response. Those schools have become homes of vagrants instead of shelters or even schools. Can you give us an update as to when these schools will be repaired?
The schools, these two schools were part of the trust fund project to be completely rebuilt. And in our last meeting that we had, right now, World Bank officials are here for a mission. So we have a meeting with them tomorrow as a Council of Ministers to be updated on exactly where and what. We do get regular reports, but they are slated in the final process of finalizing, because the one for Charles Bell is a government-owned school. Marie Laurence is with the Catholic school. So as long as the contractual agreements and arrangements are finalized with the entity for the Marie Laurence, they will be able to commence. And for Charles Bell, I would have to revert that question to the Ministry of ECYS for the details, or go into the trust fund report to seek that information and have it sent to you. But they are both still slated to be reconstructed.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Bibi. Stephen, you have the floor.
Thank you. Prime Minister, the CAS islands or countries will have to start making payments on the Corona loan as per October this year. Will St. Martin be able to meet the deadline? If not, what is being put in place to ensure that you can effectively request for delay in making payments?
There is a committee that has been established that is in discussion to prepare the proposal. We've received, let's say, a proposal from the Netherlands in terms of what is possible with the refinancing of the loans. As Government of St. Martin, we are putting forth, we would have to establish what we see as feasible. And the idea is that we would definitely defer any payment that would be due in October. As you know, financially, we're not able to make those payments come October. So it behooves us to have the plan finalized in June as per the request of the Ministry of Basic Care, and that's our goal. So we're working towards having our proposal on how this would go ready by June to have further discussions with the state secretary and her staff to reach to an agreement on how this will be done. So the committee is working diligently and looking at all of the other options, and we are trying our best to ensure that we paint a clear picture of our finances, the risk involved, et cetera, propose investments, for instance, so that we can build the resilience and continue to develop St. Martin. Because a lot of what has been said over the past years is that St. Martin was able to be so badly damaged or is so far behind on achieving some of the goals that we have because there has been a lack of investment in the past. So the only way to remedy that is to actually invest. And as you know, we just got our budget approved and the capital investments also improved. Those investments are taking place. We do have investments taking place also from the trust fund. So all of that movement of money within the community will bring the necessary economic development, but we cannot forget, of course, the social and economic development of our people. So we have to look at ways to ensure that we can sustain the island as well as pay back any loans. So any scheme that is put forth will be in keeping with us being able to sustain the country as well. It has to be feasible. And we have until June to present that.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Stephen. We now move on to the third round. Bibi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rulaika. Prime Minister, your favorite question, election date. Does January 24th sound about right? Can you give us an update?
It's very interesting, our interest in that. As I mentioned before, nothing has changed. That is a scheduled election date, January 2024.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Stephen?
Prime Minister, I'm
Bibi?
asking if the date, January 24th.
Sorry, no, we have not determined, I and Government of St. Martin, we have not determined a date. We have said it is in January 2024.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Stephen?
Thank you. Prime Minister, the Minister of Development in Curacao, Minister Charles Cooper, recently advocated that Curacao should tap into the reserves of the Central Bank of Curacao and St. Martin to be able to get much needed work on this island to be done. Is that something that can be requested by a government without the cooperation of another, in this case, St. Martin?
The Central Bank of Curacao and St. Martin is exactly that, Curacao and St. Martin. So any and all decisions have to be taken by the board, which has representation of both countries. As such, I have not heard about this as yet in terms of coming officially via the regular channels to the government or the Council of Ministers. So I'll have to have that discussion with our Minister of Finance to see if he's aware of any of that discussion.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We now move on to the fourth and final round. Bibi, you have the floor.
Thank you. Prime Minister, I know this is not your ministry, but as the chair of the Council of Ministers, I believe you should be able to have some information on this. The new General Hospital. We are almost 4 years since this government is in office. Can you give us a valid update on the progress of the construction of this hospital? Do you know what was the initial cost to construct the new General Hospital, and what is the projected cost upon completion?
Unfortunately, this topic or these type of updates have not been provided recently in our Council of Ministers, so I will definitely pass this on to Minister Otley for him to send this to you in writing.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Stephen, you have the final question.
Thank you. Prime Minister, I'm going to ask about electoral reform. We know that you stated in the past that a series of town hall meetings would have taken place in order to inform the general population accordingly. We have yet to see any such a meeting or meetings happening. Can you tell us as to why the delay? And if any electoral reform is to be made during this election cycle, why haven't the Ministry of General Affairs at least started with those town hall meetings to inform the general public accordingly?
Yes, indeed, Stephen. We have been planning for several months to host those. Unfortunately, the schedules continue to be deferred. They were planned for March, and then with Easter planning and everything else, it ended up pushing. I think, no, it was budget meetings in March, moved them off, and then in April it was Carnival and Easter, and May I had some travels as well, so I should be on the island for the next couple of weeks. My schedule has proven to be the biggest challenge to be able to host the town hall meetings. So I will go back to the team to see what are the latest dates that we have proposed, because it is still the goal, my goal, to ensure that we have those informative sessions. And as soon as we have the dates, we will announce them. My apologies to the community for not being able to carry them out up until now. But indeed, scheduling has been a bit of a challenge over the past couple of months.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. Members of the media, this does bring us to the end of the question and answer session. Any further questions can be sent directly to the Minister's Cabinet in writing. Honorable Prime Minister, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, May 24th, 2023. For rebroadcast, tune into St. Martin Gov Radio via 107.9 FM, Telemcell TV Plus, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, YouTube channel Government of St. Martin, and TV 15. For video on demand, log on to the Government of St. Martin's YouTube channel. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Rolika Roach and wishing you a pleasant day further.